Okay, and welcome to another episode where I'm going to be reacting to Matt Walsh's Barbie is a trash movie and doesn't deserve any Oscars.
It's a cliche at this point, but no less true that in our culture today, the demand for racism far exceeds the supply. There's no denying that fact. And it's equally obvious that the same rule applies to other well-worn isms like sexism. There's a huge demand for sexism, but very little of it to be found. So those in search of this elusive resource must resort to increasingly desperate measures. They must look under every rock and every nook and cranny and crevice. They must plunge into the deepest caverns, torches in hand, looking for ways to be persecuted by a patriarchy that is seemingly nowhere to be found. And if they still can't find sexism in any of those places, then they are forced to find it at the Oscars.
Okay, just his intro is pretty much read from a teleprompter. It's quite obvious. He doesn't look like he even wrote it. What we have here is a middle-aged man seemingly discussing a movie that was not aimed at his demographic. I really find his opening just bizarre. You got a middle-aged man here with a lovely beard talking about what a few people might have said on Twitter. You know, feminists are terrible, and you shouldn't speak out about these things. It's like, well, yeah, people should. There's two ends of every argument, and a lot of these people are just writing a little bit of stuff on Twitter. So just like you're on YouTube having your point of view, these people allow their point of view. Don't take the other extreme point of view just to get subscribers.
The Academy Award nominees were announced yesterday, and I read a list of the nominees, and as expected, I have not seen 95% of the films nominated.
Why we listen to this guy if he hasn't watched any movies?
I haven't heard of 70% of the 95%. Oppenheimer, which of course I have heard of, led the way with 13 nominations. Something called Poor Things got 11 nominations. Martin Scorsese's 14-hour epic about evil white people, The Killers of the Flower Moon.
So just to be clear, the movie Killers of the Flower Moon is an extremely good movie by Scorsese. He's an incredible director. He's picked some incredible and very important subject matter, which is about the Osage family and American Indians. I think it's an untold story, an incredible story. It's told and weaved incredibly well. What is he going on about? In making it out to be some sort of political agenda behind it or something. Again, I think this guy is really, he hates anyone, it seems, that has an opinion. And then he himself has an opinion. But he's allowed.
Scored 10 nominations. Meanwhile, Barbie acquitted itself quite well, and much better than it deserved to, with 8 nominations. 8 nominations seems like a very respectable tally, but it was not good enough for the crowds on social media, especially because although Barbie was nominated for 8 awards, Greta Gerwig was not nominated for Best Director, and Margot Robbie, Barbie herself, was not nominated for Best Actress. Why not? Well, probably because Oscar voters felt that other people happened to be more deserving of an award. And maybe also because 8 nominations for a toy commercial is already embarrassing enough for the Academy Awards. 10 would be over the top.
It's not, I mean, I could say, yeah, it's a toy commercial. There's a lot of money put behind it. And if there's a film called Coca-Cola and it was made by Coke, I think that would put a lot of people off. That is going to divide people. But let's get into the movie itself, because Greta Gerwig made the movie. I don't think it's really her fault, a lot of this stuff. So who's he aiming this at? Does he know? Or is it the brand itself?
So there are many potential reasons, but the outraged masses.
No, I'm not agreeing with that. The outraged few that you're picking on.
Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig were snubbed for Oscar nominations for their film Barbie. The omissions attracted extra attention on the account of the fact that Ryan Gosling, who played Ken, did get nominated.
Okay, so he's using an example from the Daily Mail. Why would you choose the Daily Mail? Every 5 minutes they say the most ridiculous things that we all know isn't true. I mean, you could just sit on there all day, Matt Walsh, and look at stuff from the Daily Mail and just pick on it. But why pick on this? Because it's probably the most clicked thing online at the moment. And it's getting more and more clicks because you're talking about it and I'm talking about it. But I think I'm not complaining about it.
Now, the award for most melodramatic comment, which was retweeted tens of thousands of times, I think it had like 30,000 retweets, goes to this comment. It said, "I don't think men will ever understand how deeply painful this is. A film about women, made by and for women, about the difficulties of being a woman in the modern patriarchal world. And they didn't even nominate the leading actress or the female director? Yes, how painful. The deep, searing pain of watching as a couple of millionaire women you don't know aren't nominated for Oscars." Well, they were nominated for Oscars in the screenplay and producer categories, but they weren't nominated in the categories you want, which has caused you unimaginable suffering and pain. I mean, there are people in this world today, at this very moment, who are malnourished, who are homeless, who are starving, who are dying of horrible diseases.
Well, I could say exactly the same about you, Matt Walsh. There's people dying. There's people dying of malaria and all these other illnesses and famines and wars. And you're sat there talking about people who are complaining about Barbie not being up for so many Oscars. I mean, that in itself is almost so ironic. It's unbelievable. And someone as clever as him, does he not realize how stupid that is?
Who are watching their family members die. But those people, especially if they're men, cannot understand the depths of pain that this girl on Twitter must be feeling because Barbie was snubbed at the Oscars. It all makes sense. Meanwhile, it goes without saying that the luminaries over on TikTok jumped on the outrage bandwagon. Here's just one example. Watch.
No, because literally yesterday I was thinking to myself that if Barbie got snubbed with Margot Robbie not being in the Best Actress category or Greta Gerwig not being in the Best Director category, then the point of Barbie is just like so in your face at that point. I just checked all of the Oscar nominations like 5 minutes ago. I would have done it earlier this morning, but obviously I had school. But this is insane. Like, they actually had the balls to do, like, they didn't care about public backlash or anything. Like, I was literally thinking to myself the other day that it would be so funny if they actually pulled something like this. But I thought to myself, there's no way. The year of the Barbie movie, Barbie was such a big hit, especially in its messaging. I felt like they weren't going to do it. And they did.
Now, I only want to say one thing about that. It was bad enough when literally became a filler word that you used 3 times in one sentence for no particular reason. But what I can't abide and what I will not allow this new thing found mostly among Gen Z women where they begin a sentence with the words no because. Or they put it all together as she did and make it no because literally. Those are 3 words at the very beginning of your statement that have absolutely no meaning.
That's someone who clearly liked the movie and is standing up for it, and I think that's absolutely fine. It's like someone who has maybe the favourite team is at the bottom of the Premiership, but they still support them. It's about understanding. It's about understanding that people have their views here. She's allowed her view. She might not have the understanding of Matt Walsh about how the Oscars is nominated. I don't think he really knows. I think it is a little bit sort of, a lot of people are unsure about it, but she clearly doesn't know all that stuff. And so what is he doing? Who's he attacking here? An individual? This is stupid.
Well, if you're like me, there's not a day that goes by where you don't call or text someone you care about. Everyone knows I love talking. My favorite thing is to talk on the phone. I do it constantly.
Is he literally putting an advert in his own video when he's talking about a film that was an advertisement? I'm just embarrassed for this guy, really.
In fact, Gerwig wasn't nominated for Best Director, but a woman named Justine Triet, who directed something called Anatomy of a Fall.
Justine Triet, she's French.
Was nominated. So the claim here is that Gerwig and Robbie...
He dyes his beard for sure.
...as part of a sexist conspiracy, even though they both were nominated in other categories, and other women who are not Gerwig and Robbie were nominated in the categories that Gerwig and Robbie were denied. Now, obviously, trying to connect this to patriarchy and sexism is yet another delusional and desperate attempt by very bored and very shallow people to feel persecuted because they don't know how to find any meaning in life except through a false personal narrative of victimization. That's what's clearly going on here.
A meaning in life, and so Matt Walsh's meaning in life is to sit down and talk about how Barbie, a film that he hasn't even seen, doesn't align with his worldviews. Lovely.
And that's the obvious part of the story. But the other part, which should be even more obvious, is that the Barbie movie does not deserve to be nominated for anything in the first place. Okay? I haven't seen it. I don't plan to see it. But even without seeing it, I know that the movie is basically trash.
I don't plan to see it. But you have to watch it to make those claims.
I 100% know that. It's a fact. Like, I cannot be wrong. And I'm not even saying, I'm not worried about the wokeness, I'm not worried about the feminism, the ideological stuff. I'm not saying it because of any of that. What I do know for an absolute fact is that a film produced by the Mattel Toy Company for the primary purpose of selling Mattel merchandise cannot be and is not a towering artistic achievement.
Agree with that. I agree with that. But you need to make money. People don't invest. He wouldn't invest in that laptop, in the camera, if he wasn't trying to make some kind of profit that he can then put into other things. And I think, yeah, the Mattel company is a company. And what do companies do? They make profit.
You could try to find whatever deep meaning you want in the Barbie movie, but it is, without question, primarily a giant toy commercial. That is why the film exists. It's why Mattel made $125 million in additional sales in the first few months after the Barbie movie came out. Sales for Barbie dolls and other Mattel brand dolls were up 25%. That was the fundamental point of the movie. 25%.
I think you can talk about Marvel, Star Wars, a lot of things. You could talk about Lord of the Rings, for example. Peter Jackson won an Oscar for where they have a secondary market, which is in the whole toys and games and video games. So it's not like they invented this.
To advertise and sell their merchandise, and it succeeded greatly on that front. So all the debates about, what does this movie really mean? What's it all about? What are they trying to say? What they're trying to say is, buy a Barbie doll. That's what they're trying to say. Like, that's the message, okay? That's it. And that's why Mattel is now planning movies based on Hot Wheel cars and Polly Pocket and Rock'em Sock'em robots. Somehow Uno cards are going to get their own movie now. So as the superhero movie epidemic finally starts to wane, and you might feel like you could finally breathe a sigh of relief, and maybe we'll get some real films finally. We'll get back to making real cinema, actual movies, actual art, you know. But no, because now it appears that the Marvel universe will be supplanted by the Mattel universe.
But the people who don't watch Marvel, I don't watch Marvel, won't look at the Mattel universe, so it's easily ignored. If one slips in, like the first groundbreaking film, which might be Barbie, slips into the Oscars, why does that upset him so much?
Thanks to all you people who pretended that a toy commercial was high art. Here's the fact of the matter. No film that exists primarily to promote a brand can ever be good. That's why all the Marvel movies suck, because they all exist just to promote the Marvel brand. That's it. That's why they're there.
That point alone is good. Everything else and the way he gets there is just a horrific kind of rubbish, going off on tangents thing. And the fact that he hasn't seen the movies just makes this even more stupid. I mean, dude, watch a 2-hour movie, okay? You've got 2.8 million subscribers.
It can't even be a real film. It can only be, at best, a very well-made and technically impressive commercial.
I'd like him to name me his top 10 movies of all time, and he probably put in The Godfather in there, which are obviously not toy commercials, but some of them will have been made for a profit, with the profit in mind.
So, you Barbie fans should be quiet. Calm down, calm yourself, and be grateful for the absurdly overblown accolades that the Barbie movie has already received. It didn't deserve any of them. The movie is garbage. And that is why both the film and its fans are today canceled. Thanks for checking out this video. If
He's got some point there that the film is made by a big toy company. I get that, but I think the way there's not that many people, and he himself is bashing the people who are bashing. I mean, what's worse? You know, he just continues the madness. He wants someone to now come out at him. You could even say that's me, but I'm literally just watching this because I find watching people talk about this stuff fascinating, and the way they position themselves. The first 50 to 75% of this is sexism. He tries to destroy anyone who supports the film. Why? And he even gets to the point where he starts talking about people's English. Well, maybe they haven't got the money for an auto cue and for someone to write their own stuff. How this person has managed to talk about Barbie without watching it is unbelievable. If I was one of the 2.8 million subscribers, I would leave immediately if you like film or if you like well-researched programs, because this guy clearly isn't in it. And lovely that he dropped an advert right in the middle just to show how stupid and contradictory he is as a person. Thank you very much for listening, everybody, and have a lovely weekend.